What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is basically the part 2 of the affordable get ready with me or makeup routine or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so I am going to be styling this wig today. This is actually a wig from my first wig that I bought probably 2016 Black Friday. I don't wear it a lot, I don't wear it every day, of course. But this wig has not failed me, and so what I'm going to attempt to do today is try to secure it a little bit better. Usually I just put it on, you know, the parting isn't bad at all, you know, and it looks fairly natural when I just put it on like this, but I'm going to try to secure it a little bit better, and yeah, so y'all can just sit back and watch me secure this wig and then also watch me style it. So I'm just taking some of this Smooth and Shine mousse. Probably got it from Walmart or the dollar store. I really like this wig, but it's like my first time ever wearing it straight. I never wear straight wigs, or at least not in this cut. I can wear, you know, something straight and longer, but straight and this short, no ma'am. And it's not a bad look, it's just, you know, I don't feel like it's my best. So that's cute. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go in with this curling one. I got it from Walmart. It's Remington, that's the brand, and it's digital. So if you can see that, 360. And then I'm just gonna take it up to 400. Actually comes with a glove because it gets so hot, and so I'm gonna go ahead and put this glove on, and then I have a few clips that I have ready. And so yeah, let's get started. So let me know if y'all watched This Is Us, because the past episodes have been getting a lot of buzz. So Beth's childhood, and then this week's previous episode that, you know, kind of went back in history about Beth and Randall's relationship. And so I think I want to speak to Beth just because, you know, it's easy to blame Randall because he is a lot and he has a lot going on, you know, and emotionally he has a lot going on, passionately, and I think sometimes he can come off as impulsive, you know. But I think also women, you know, just based on the world that we live in and society and what society, you know, says women should do and how women should be, women should submit, you know, and it can go, you know, as far as, you know, religion. But I think a lot of women do, I'm not gonna say we get caught up in, but I think sometimes we find it hard to balance, you know, submission and or being a good wife and or what support looks like versus, you know, selfishness and not being selfish and, you know, letting the man lead and just essentially being a quote unquote good wife. And so for Beth, like this may not be popular opinion, but Beth is responsible for her own happiness. Beth is responsible for herself. She's responsible for her feelings, for her emotions. She's responsible for speaking up in her relationship versus, you know, trying to pacify Randall or going along with him and with the things that he wants to do, you know, when she may not truly be on board or agree, or just essentially, you know, has some different feelings about what may be taking place. And so Beth is responsible for setting her own boundaries in her relationship, in her life, with her mom, you know, with people, you know, as well as enforcing them. And so I think where things kind of, you know, maybe have taken a toll is that Beth has not, you know, enforced her boundaries as, you know, strictly as maybe she should have. But also Randall does not make it easy to enforce boundaries. Like he just, you know, he just doesn't. I'm not going to say he doesn't respect boundaries, but he just does not make it easy to enforce them because, you know, he's so much and he can throw temper tantrums, which is annoying AF and, you know, quite frustrating and can, you know, be quite problematic if he, you know, doesn't and or can't and or did not in the past, you know, express things differently. And so yeah, but I think also as women, we think and want the person that we're in a relationship with, you know, like, or just anyone. It doesn't have to be, you know, woman to man or whatever. Human to human. If you're in a relationship with someone, you know, a lot of times you want that person to have your best interest at heart. And I think at the end of the day, you have to be your sole cheerleader, right? Like, you have to fight for those things, because no one wants to be lost in someone's shadow. No one wants to, you know, have to postpone their dreams for the sake of the family, the team, their husband, or the kids, you know, because I know it's easy to say, well, she can teach dance at any moment, at any time, you know, and it's kind of like, well, maybe, you know, but also maybe not, you know. And I say that because, you know, it's kind of like saying, oh, well, you can go to school at any time. And it's like, well, yeah, you can go to school at any time, but can you get that same job at any age? Right? You know? And I think that's a no. And so, yeah, you know, maybe Beth had a realization later on in life, but I think that came after, you know, her and her mom had a tough discussion that maybe they didn't have when she was younger, or that they have not been able to have in the past, you know. And so, yeah, she had a breakthrough, she had a moment, and maybe she had, you know, her whole life crisis 20 years too late as far as Randall is concerned, you know, based on the comment that he made. So, you know, it's kind of whatever. And so, you know, Randall ran for councilman. I'm not really sure what his position was, but anyway, he ran for it, you know. And I guess right before the, you know, election or final election, even though they thought he was gonna lose, she told him, you know, that she, you know, that basically like, hey, you know, this is my point where, you know, I don't feel like, you know, you should continue to run. And granted, you know, he told her to say that, so people can argue that like, oh, she can't say that at this point in the race, yada yada, it doesn't matter. But based on like their agreement, you know, he decided to continue to run. And I'm not gonna say that's right or wrong, you know, it's just what it is. But yeah, and so, you know, she took up an issue with that. I think the parameter should have been a little bit more specific. I'm not gonna say it's unreasonable for her to ask him to, you know, stop running at that point, but I feel like it was kind of like too far to turn at that point. But Randall, I do see that like some of his childhood, you know, the way his parents handled him when he was younger, you know, he kind of took that, well, I think it's just Randall in general, but he definitely took that into his relationship. And, you know, it's kind of like, well, you know, you're grown now, you can't always, you know, have your way or run away or, you know, do certain things, you know, to get your way. And it just doesn't work. We can say that like, oh, all she gotta do is call him out, blah, blah, blah. And like, if you're someone who doesn't have boundaries or has a hard time setting boundaries, like, that's even more challenging trying to enforce them. And then on top of that, it's even more challenging trying to enforce them with someone who maybe grew up with no boundaries, or who grew up, you know, everything being about them and, you know, everything going their way. I do think Beth, you know, enabled his behavior thus far. And, you know, she's like, oh, well, you know, the marriage doesn't work unless I bend. And I'm just like, sis, you know, I just think that's so relatable, because I think a lot of women do bend and a lot of women do give up certain things. You know, maybe they give up their career, their jobs, their dreams, whatever it is, for the sake of the family. And I was just like, ooh, that's deep. You know, I'm sure that stepped on a lot of toes. And then of course, like, I was just reading comments on Instagram and whatnot, you know, and a lot of women were saying that they could like relate to it and what have you. And it's just like, dang, You know, like, that should not be our story. I do think the times that we're in, women are, you know, women are more enlightened, women are more empowered, women are out here doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, women are out here reclaiming their time, you know, not needing a man for this, for that, making it known, literally beating the odds. And I think that's amazing, and it's just awesome to be alive during this time, you know, to be able to like feel and take some of that empowerment. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, we have to be responsible for, like, you know, what we allow, and, you know, making it known, even if it just seems endless and tiresome to continue to repeat ourselves when we're in relationships. But I think the fact that, like, she had an issue with stuff, you know, and always kind of gave in because he's charming or what have you. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like you want other people to be as considerate and, you know, as cognizant with you as you are with them, you know. So there's some arguments about, you know, men would be men are dumb, men are stupid, and it's just like, but they don't have to be, you know. And I definitely think that's where communication comes in. That doesn't mean that communication fixes and solves everything, because it does not, you know what I'm saying. Like, there are a whole slew, you know, of other things that goes into allowing a relationship to get this far, you know, or maybe allowing a relationship to not get this far. Everyone has to be intentional about what they're doing. And I do think sometimes it's human nature. Well, number one, it's human nature to be selfish. Also, it's human nature to take advantage of, you know, someone, because people's patterns are predictable. And I think people always push the limit, right? People always want to see how far they can go. If you can give them an inch, you know, they're going to try to take a little bit more. I think that's just human nature, because it feeds our ego, and, you know, that's just us. And sometimes it's easier to not be considerate and to think that, like, oh, well, they didn't say anything, so they must be okay with this. And it's like, no, like, you can't navigate the world like that. And for people who are passive, yes, you have to speak up, you know, and you can't give in and blah blah blah. And yeah, it becomes exhausted. And just because you're, you know, and sometimes it's like, well, because I'm married, you know, they should have my best, you know, intentions at heart, and they should, right? But we're human, you know, and people are predictable, people act in patterns. And so don't lose yourself. It's your responsibility not to lose yourself and not to let it happen. And if you're in a relationship with someone who, you know, is not supporting that and not taking, you know, extra steps to ensure and help you, you know, and give you that space to navigate and to be free, you know, that may be problematic as well. And maybe you should not be in a relationship with that person. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for your feelings, your emotions. You're responsible for communicating those things. And if someone does not respect, you know, the boundaries, you know, then maybe you have a decision to make where y'all have, you know, some more conversations to have, or maybe you just need to go to therapy and talk it out. You know, maybe that's what it is. Because I find a lot of times men, they don't listen to you, they'll listen to someone else. And most times they'll listen to another man. And so yes, it's unfortunate, but you know, that's just kind of how it is sometimes. And so at the end of the day, Beth is responsible for Beth, and I would love to take her side, but sis is responsible for herself. Randall, I want to talk about Randall, but I think I would have to watch the episode again to be able to kind of pull him apart. Because they paint him, you know, in such a way that he's like, oh, like, I want that husband, you know, like super duper like supportive. And I do think it was true what he said, is that, like, if it was any other time, you know, I would be on board. I do genuinely believe that, because he is her like biggest cheerleader. But the reality is that everything does not always line up. And I think, you know, in a marriage, in a relationship, like, there are times where, you know, the rubber does hit the road and y'all have to, you know, and someone will get the short end of the stick. But as much as Beth has gotten the short end of the stick, like, that's just not, I don't think that that's healthy. I'm not gonna say okay, but I don't think that that's healthy, if that makes sense. You know, and Beth had lost her job. She became re-inspired. You know, she tapped into her childhood. She, you know, the conversation with her mom somewhat healed some of, you know, some empty space, or some voids that were there, you know, from, you know, childhood. Because we see Felicia Rashad, you know, she's a tough, stern mom. You know, she doesn't have much space, much room, much time, much tolerance for emotions and healthy coping, like we saw when, you know, she found out that her dad had cancer. And so yeah, I also, you know, wholly believe that parents do the best that they can at that moment, you know, and things continue to fold out. But so that's really interesting too, because I have had conversations with other women, you know, who kind of have like, you know, similar upbringings, and kind of bring that up and talk about that. And so yeah, for sure, talk about that in therapy, you know, heal, because the more you love yourself, the more you get to know yourself, the more that you are self-aware, right, the better you can work on things, to not allow other people to walk over you, you know. So 20 something years down the line, you're not like, dang, like I wasted my life, my time. You know, I think a lot of us all have things to work on, you know, and that's perfectly fine, that's perfectly okay. But you know, if you continuously find yourself in a, you know, same situation with someone different, maybe it's you. And when I say that, I don't say that to point the finger, but genuinely, maybe it's you. Maybe you should, you know, explore your worth. You know, maybe you should practice self-love more, and not look for others to maybe fill a void. And now I'm going off on a tangent. This has nothing to do with the show. All right, guys, and just like that, I am done with this hair. I hope you liked how this messy bob came out, and I hope that you like the curls. But anyway, yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Bye, guys.